It's time to wander the world, and you may recall a couple of weeks ago in this travel segment, we chatted to the French Consul General about the logistics of South Africans visiting France and some of the more off-the-beaten-track destinations that are worth exploring. But we deliberately didn't talk about the capital city of Paris because I knew that in the coming weeks, both myself and our regular travel correspondent, Allison Foat, were both going to be going there. So I thought, you know what, let's wait until now so that we can rather give you some first-hand input of our wanderings and talk from an informed perspective about what we experienced, where we went, tips for first-time visitors, etc. Alison was there in, I think it was early April, Alison, yeah? And I have literally just got back on Sunday night, so I guess we can call it the Springtime in Paris segment.
Bienvenue. Why not?
Why not? I mean, you have spoken before about visiting the city. I think, like me, you've had it get under your skin and you just can't keep going back.
I love it. This was my 15th trip.
Wow.
Because don't forget, I trained there when I was young. So if I go back to when I was 14 or 15. So it's been a lot. And this time I was with Paul, my husband, and that's a first. I don't travel often with him. And he has a whole different agenda to me that's really revolving around whiskey, coffee, and jazz.
Okay.
So we ferreted all those places out. He had it on his Instagram. He knows where to go.
Okay.
Came across amazing places.
So you're going to talk to us about some of those little hidden spots and gems that you discovered. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about one or two unexpected things I stumbled upon. And then we'll both, if time allows, talk about the sort of side trips we did outside of Paris, which were equally impressive.
Yes.
But let's dive straight into the music and the nightlife and the dance, because I didn't do much of that, with one exception.
True.
But tell us where you went and what you found.
Okay, so obviously my beat would be ballet, opera, jazz. I love jazz. And of course, I'm going to start with the Moulin Rouge and throwing back to that, because remember you interviewed Kristen Sakana, the Cape Townian guy who got that contract at the Moulin Rouge. Well, I hit him up on a little DM on the Insta and he was like, Diva, you've got to come see the show. And he organized this divine table with a big bottle of champagne, which would be quite dear if I was paying for it myself. I mean, those tickets roll to €250 per person. You get a lot, but for me, not enough to warrant. It's a lot. But,
it's a lot,
but you can, depending on what you're booking. So you start at €120.
For just the show?
Just the show, and you get a complimentary dinky of champagne. It's not even a full situation. You've got to sip through a teaspoon.
And make it last the whole night.
And a sieve and a this and a cotton ball, so that you've got to inhale it rather than make it last. So we did that. It was divine. Look, it's very old school still. They haven't really changed the formula. So it's a typical, the sort of can vibe. And although having said that, the can is quite disappointing. You'll get a better one in Orpheus in the Underworld. It's coming up. Like, really, with the high kicks, but there was everything else. It's a long show. It's a big show. You get bang for your buck. And of course, there was our Chris at the back doing his thing.
That's awesome.
There are feathers and there's tulle and there's tinsel and there's sequins. It is all that jazz, like all that glam situation from back in that Belle Epoque era.
Yeah.
And of course, the venue is gorgeous. Still the same with those beautiful frescoes, pressed ceilings. You really, it's much more than I'm just going to go and see a show. You're going there for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you can't lose. I mean, if I could, and I was paying my own way for this time, I didn't, but I would definitely put it on my list.
Okay, so I walked past the outside and stopped and looked at the ticket price and went, maybe
Moving
not.
on.
Yes, okay. So that's what I missed. But okay, that's the big over-the-top, as you say, bells and whistles and beads and feathers galore. You also had some very much smaller, more intimate spaces that you explored, though.
So Paul loves jazz, so we found a couple of amazing places, but one actually around the corner from Moulin Rouge in Pigalle was called L'Injuste, which I think means unjust or something in French. The most divine little spot, very intimate, like a double offering, depending on what you're booking. You can go and see some cabaret, which is just very smoky, women singing with a close old-fashioned microphone. Divine. Or you can go and catch one of the jazz bands, headed up by these like old school, young guys, but old school, where they actually use those strange megaphones to give you that kind of sound you might have gotten on the Titanic if you were listening to having a cigar in the jazz lounge.
Yeah.
That sort of tinny, extraordinary sound, like an old record player even.
Yeah. Oh.
So there was that, and I mean, people arrived. These are kids of like 25 upwards to 35, arriving in their cloche caps and their little beads and flapper skirts. So obviously the word got out through Instagram. It was a themed night, but these guys are regulars playing what they call early jazz. And it was extraordinary. Also, an Art Deco building. So, Paris is so full of that. Nothing is just, I'm having a coffee. You're having a coffee and you are looking at some incredible Haussmann building that's been there since year dot. It's so layered and it's so exciting and it's so steeped in heritage and history. You just feel it's magical, and honestly, that's why I keep going back. You can't lose.
I felt the same way. I walked my Fitbit tells me, I'm not making this up, I walked 105 kilometers in not quite 6 days. And the last day of that was in the Pigalle. And, stumbling around a corner, as you say, and there sits the Opera Garden.
Yes.
Just the outside of the building itself is worth going to see. Never mind going inside to listen to a show. Yes. And then you come around another corner, you head down into the 8th arrondissement, you come across the Madeleine Church, which was quite close to where I was staying. And, a little poster pinned to the fence saying, there's a string quintet playing here tomorrow night. So I went to go and listen to the Four Seasons.
Oh, my hat.
Played by a string quintet inside the Madeleine Church. I was pinching myself the whole night. At the acoustics, I was sitting in this massive church. It's a sort of cathedral feel inside. From the outside, it looks like a Greek temple with columns. And then just this music soaring into the heights of the church. It was absolutely spine-chillingly beautiful. But as you say, Alison, you stumble upon something like that around every corner.
There's a lot of it available. And all these little hidden entrances and secret little gems of these little spots. I also did opera in Saint-Chapelle, which is really famous for it. Also, as you say, they all look quite sort of like normal. A church is a church is a church in a certain rank of church in Paris. And then you go in and they're all quite magnificent, so splendid with these stained glass windows, and you're listening to some other aria from Traviata, something we all know that our untrained ear might just, interestingly just be familiar with.
Yeah.
So there's so much to see. You're so spoiled for choice. It's divine.
For my biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody who's going for the first time is don't overschedule and try and see too much, because the beauty of the city is being in it and walking in it and sitting and watching people. And
exactly,
it's well designed for that. There are parks around every corner. They've got beautiful sculpted benches in them. People come and use them at lunchtime. You see everybody sitting with their coffee and their baguette.
People playing boule.
Just around every corner there's a little green spot like that. One of the unexpected ones I stumbled upon was the Highline Park, the Promenade Plantée.
I wanted to do that, I didn't have time.
Which is right far sort of on the right bank in the east part of the city, so it's a bit of a mission to get to, but once you're there, they have turned an old abandoned railway line into
I believe
park
it's outstanding.
That's, I believe, in total runs over 4 kilometers. I explored a little 1 kilometer section.
I'm so glad you did
and
that.
Went and so you walk up the steps to what looks like the top of the old aqueduct, and there is this magnificent park with a running track through the middle that people are jogging on. Benches, glorious. Trees, birds singing. It was so, so beautiful. And there are places like that you stumble upon around every corner.
I know. It's a very full experience. Your day, you're out early and you're back late.
Yeah.
That's the joy of Paris. I mean, there's just a surprise at every turn.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Now, in terms of sort of sideways destinations and a little day trip out of Paris here and there, I actually did a 2-day trip out of Paris, because one of the reasons I went to France this time was that on the very first day of my very first French lesson ever in high school, my teacher put up a slide of Mont Saint-Michel and said, this is one of the most beautiful things to see in France. This is why you must learn to speak French and take this class seriously. And I looked at it and I thought, one day I'm going to go there.
Yes.
Well, that day was last Thursday. And so I signed up for a 2-day guided tour, which I normally don't do. I normally travel on my own.
Necessary.
But I'm so glad I did it this time. So I had 1 day out to first Saint-Malo. Those of you who read or watched All the Light We Cannot See will know the story of Saint-Malo, which was bombed and rebuilt. And then the afternoon was at Mont Saint-Michel, which is it's effectively a massive abbey at the top of what is effectively an island, although there is now a bridge across.
Yes,
but it is cut off by the tides at high tide, unless you're driving over the bridge, unless the bridge is flooded, that is. But it is, and you climb up and up and up, so take good shoes. I think it was 400 plus steps straight up the side of a hill to this magnificent abbey, which dates back hundreds and hundreds of years. And just the most exquisite experience, and I thought it couldn't get any better than that. And then the following day, so having seen a little bit of Brittany and a little bit of Normandy, we then went deep into the Normandy beaches and the D-Day memorials.
Yes.
And that was extraordinary.
Justin Fox territory.
Yeah, really, really. And I knew it was going to be moving, but
was it?
It was. I've struggled to find the words for it, and in fact, Nicola's just written in to say on the 6th of June last year, I was privileged to be on Gold Beach, commemorating the 81st anniversary of my father's Royal Marine Commando landing with the 47, sharing the day with their association, retracing the steps that he and his commando took after they had landed. A very emotional and personal day. And then they went into a pub. She said the commando commandeers a pub in the village once a year, which displays all the members' faces, and seeing my dad there was the proudest moment, lest we forget. Nicola, I mean, that's such a personal story to add to it. Just to be on that beach, and we were lucky it was a public holiday, the 1st of May, so there was hardly anybody else there on this beautiful, beautiful, calm day with the most beautiful statue called Les Braves, the Brave, which has been built on Omaha Beach, and then to go from there to the American Cemetery with row upon row of crosses, all dated the 6th of June. Not all of them, but many of them dated the 6th of June 1944. 4,000 young men buried there. And I had such a moment because, I'm the mother of a 19-year-old son.
Yes.
To stand there and think, in that context, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, this would have been my son potentially. It was extraordinary, beautifully, beautifully done. A beautiful place of just such
sensitive
peace and tranquility. Yeah. And then the only thing that really sort of kicked me in the gut was to go from there then down to Avramanche, one of the other landing sites, and to see the temporary port, and every curio shop selling little boys' war helmets and fake guns and tanks, and thinking, no, the disconnect between that was very hard for me. I found that very jarring. But as you said, Alison, sometimes a guided tour, this was one of those times where I'm really, really glad I had somebody else talking me through, explaining what I was looking at, recreating, what it was like on the day in question, and what was really, really worth it. So I would say if you're thinking of going on a sort of a war pilgrimage, if I can put it that way, choose the tour carefully, because some of them combine sort of general sightseeing. We went on to Honfleur, Rouen, which were amazing. But if you are wanting a really in-depth experience of the war sites, look for one that is just dedicated to the D-Day section only. There was one person on our tour who was disappointed because they thought there was too much sightseeing and not enough D-Day, which is why I mentioned that. So just be mindful of what it is you're booking for. But if you're looking for, it was a 2-day tour with Paris City Vision. Highly recommended. Very good.
Great reputation.
A wonderful tour guide and really phenomenal. Where did you go on your little?
Well, this is the trip before
out of Paris.
But what I I've got such an affinity for the south of France because I trained in a Russian ballet school there briefly when I was 14 and 15, and so you can actually take the TGV from Gare de Lyon. From Paris, takes about 6 hours, very scenic, down to Nice, and then catch the train from Nice to Menton, which is the sort of unheralded end stop on that line. It hugs the coast. You can get off, get on, whatever you want to do. But it's just exquisite. The little villages that you can stop at and explore, like Aise, Villefranche, and this Menton, which is the sort of the village of lemons, which is super famous, and it's right on the Italian-French border. And this previous stop is sort of the hero of the French Riviera is Monaco, which I don't like. I'm personally not mad about Monaco. I find it is so built up and so garish with the Teslas and the super yachts. It's quite a lot to take in. Yeah. But that's sort of like, the glitzy crown of the Riviera. But before that are the real gems. Yeah. These beautiful coves. You can go to the beach. And I mean, the best thing we did was end in Menton, splash out on a lunch at the 3 Michelin star Merizu, which is still there, still thriving, and then also beautiful. Like they all have these exquisite old towns and villages with the cobbled streets. I did an e-bike tour here and there. It was absolutely rejuvenating. I loved it. Spent the time on the beach in Menton. Yeah. So you go all the way there. And as I said, you can stop and start if you want, get on, get off, and then you can keep going. And that costs no money. It's like €4 a ticket. So you can spend so little money, get it all in, and then stay the night in Menton if you want, to one of the other little villages. And like, for instance, Aise, you can do a walk through the lavender, go to the top, and you see that incredible view. I mean, the Côte d'Azur is something else. I mean, I love Cape Town, and I think we've got the most amazing blue flag beaches and those 4 coves of Clifton. But I have to say, I do think Côte d'Azur trumps us a little bit here and there. In parts, let's not say all, in sections. And it's divine. So, you can have the best time. The TGV is a great experience. It's a high-speed train. You can go direct, and it's not cheap. I mean, you can run the gamut from like 40 euros all the way up to 150 euros. But the trick is, if you plan, like you say, plan that in advance, because the more in advance you book, the cheaper it is. You crack those deals. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be really shot with super expensive.
The last minute, long distance travel.
It's going to kill you.
Short distance public transport in Paris.
So cheap.
A train or bus ticket costs less than a cup of coffee.
Exactly.
It is so easy to navigate. Everything is done on an app these days. Yes. So it is very, very easy to use. Yeah. And to get around the city, really. I mean, as I said, I did a lot of it on foot, but you can literally traverse the entire city very easily.
But your long distance is another story.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to do something like that, book the longer distance. Yeah. I did the same. The Normandy trip I booked in November already.
You can't be terribly spontaneous with that.
Without it costing you a lot.
Otherwise, it's going to sort of create a crater in your wallet.
The other thing I want to mention, I mean, a couple of just observations going back to Paris itself. The city has visibly been cleaned up and zhuzhed up for the Olympics, obviously, and the remnants of that are everywhere. Brand new street signs on everything, fantastic communication, everything repeated in English on the trains, etc. It's really easy. They've made it really easy to visit. Bicycle culture is a new thing. I think this was my fourth visit to Paris. I've seen it the first time. I've been so aware of so many bicycles.
Yeah, Velib, the bike. You tap your credit card and off you go. Yeah. Listen, I think I'd have to be completely mad to do it, because the traffic is, crazy like everywhere else, and they're just going. Everybody knows. And the bicycle people, the cultures. I mean, I put an Instagram post of just a grid of bicycles that I saw in 10 minutes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Sitting at the cafe, facing outwards, people watching. Yeah. And bicycle watching. I was like, look at that. It was just the best thing ever.
People watching, bicycle watching, and dog watching. Because every second person has a dog in their handbag or on a leash.
Well, the one hand is a dog, the other is a baguette. Yeah. I mean, it's day made.
Quintessential French look. And a cigarette in their mouth, unfortunately, still very much part of the experience. I might probably have a
bottle of Merlot in my bag too.
But there we go. I mean, Alison, we've touched on a couple of experiences here. The point of the conversation is, don't just do the main tourist sites.
Yes.
They are gorgeous. Yes. And if it's your first trip, do the cruise on the Seine, have a look, orientate yourself, see Notre Dame, see the big, Sacré-Cœur. Obviously, you want to see those main attractions. Yeah. But half the beauty of visiting this place is getting lost, sitting down, having a coffee, and watching people and watching the world go by. Yeah. And just drinking in those indefinable things.
Sit in the park. Oh, it's wonderful.
Because they make it so easy for you to do that. They do. Just try to stop converting euros to rand.
No
I had a moment of going, how much did I just pay for a cookie? And then that was on day 1, and by day 7 I was just like, no,
we're just going to go.
We're just going to eat the cookie, or the Paris Brest, or I tried my best to taste every pastry known to mankind. I'm not sure I finished the entire list, but I made a good effort, is all I can say.
Well, you look good on it.
Thanks, Alison. Listen, Alison's blog is full of beautiful photographs and writing about her most recent travels, including a lot on the things you can do in Paris without paying for anything, because there is a lot that you can do for free. That's an important thing to emphasize. Yeah. So please do go and check out CapeTownDiva.com for photographs. And I've sent a whole lot of my photographs to our digital team and asked them to load it with the podcast of this conversation, Alison. So lovely to catch up.
You too.
And welcome back.
Welcome to you.
Merci beaucoup.
Bienvenue.
Okay.